Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I'm Vivian Ezadife. My interpreter is Franklin Efe. Now the headlines. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has reserved judgment in the main appeal filed by the Governor of Kano State, Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja reserved judgment in the appeal filed by the Governor of Kano State. UNDP partners Nigeria to curb violent extremists as United Nations Towns Agency meets on global peace. Vaccination to contain rotavirus in Nigeria. And now on the news proper. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has reserved judgment in the main appeal filed by the Governor of Kano State, Abba Yusuf, challenging his removal from office by the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal and other cross appeals in the matter. Judiciary correspondent Austin Aibe reports.
Before the Court of Appeal are the main appeal and 3 other cross appeals. In the main appeal, the appellant Governor Abba Yusuf is urging the court to set aside the judgment of the Election Petition Tribunal for misapplication of law. Counsel to the appellant, Wole Olanipekun, Advocate of Nigeria, Adam Braden, after adopting his brief of argument, said that the main issue was the voiding of ballot papers for not being stamped or signed, which cannot be the correct position of law, citing provisions in Section 71 of the Electoral Act 2022. He contended that doing so was like the tribunal rewriting the election jurisprudence. He also challenged the tribunal's decision to affirm APC governorship candidate Nasir Gawuna for not being joined in the petition at the tribunal. Counsel to APC Akin Olujumi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, urged the court to uphold the judgment of the tribunal as the stamping and signing of ballot papers is against INEC regulations and that INEC did not even challenge that decision. On non-joining of the APC governorship candidate in the petition at the tribunal, Olujumi said votes are cast for political parties and members benefit from outcome. The court also reserved judgment in the cross appeal by APC challenging the eligibility of Governor Abba Yusuf to have stood for the March 2023 election, having not been a registered member of the NNPP as at the time of election. Wole Olanipekun, Advocate of Nigeria, has in his argument of the cross appeal said it is a mere academic exercise as the Supreme Court had ruled that political parties decide who their candidates are. In another appeal by the NNPP, Awomolo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, argued that the tribunal was wrong to delve into recounting of ballots papers in chambers, as was done where it arrived in the cancellation of more than 165,000 votes from the governor's total votes in 32 local government areas. In the appeal filed by INEC, Abubakar Mahmood, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, agreed with the submission of Wole Olanipekun, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, that the lower tribunal erred in carrying out a recount of ballot papers in chambers, not in an open court, to arrive at the judgment, as tribunals are restrained from doing so under Section 137 of the Electoral Act. He said the primary function of the court is to give effect to the will of the voters, not to recount or recalculate, as doing so amounts to rewriting the election's jurisprudence, and urged the court to set aside the judgment. But the APC Council prayed the court to uphold the judgment of the tribunal as all the necessary processes were followed in accordance with the Evidence Act, citing some cases. The Court of Appeal has up to 20th of November 2023 to give verdict on the appeals heard. From the Court of Appeal, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
Natural disasters have occurred even more frequently in the last decades, which experts attribute to global warming. Typhoon Haiyan was epic in devastation 10 years after survivors still struggle to come to terms with what hit them. Kolo Mohammed tells us more.
A Filipino widow says she has learned to laugh again after a decade when Super Typhoon Haiyan smashed into central Philippines, killing more than 6,000 people and leaving millions homeless. 10 years on, the family's mass grave is one of the few visible reminders of devastation in Tacloban, the capital city of Leyte province.
Basically, moving on is finding out that purpose of why you lived or why you survived. But I don't think they'll ever forget throughout their lifetime. In terms of recovery, I think we've fully recovered, and we've attained also our local income before, and we've almost increased, almost doubled it. In fact, you can see that the establishments are flourishing.
Tacloban bore the brunt of Haiyan's fury and had to be rebuilt almost from scratch. Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
Still on international, Russian invasion of Ukraine has continued to display different phases of epic destruction. Lives have been lost, mostly civilians, and a toll has been taken on huge infrastructures, some of them over a century old. Kolo Muhammad again tells us more.
This is the aftermath of an overnight Russian strike on the southern Ukrainian city of Odessa, which damaged an arts museum and injured 8 people. Earlier on Monday, Kyiv reported that Russian forces had launched 4 missiles and more than a dozen attacks with drones from occupied regions in southern Ukraine, with a statement saying the country's military downed 15 drones in one of the missiles. Ukrainian officials went in to inspect the structure and ascertain the level of damage.
I must say you have made excellent progress. This is impressive to see. We will testify to this next week when the Commission will present its report on enlargement. I want to tell you how impressed we are by the reforms you've made in the midst of a war.
European Union is advocating ceaseless peace in Ukraine and advancing to hasten Ukraine becoming a member of NATO. Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
The search for an enduring peace in South Sudan has been in the front burner on the continent. Talks for a lasting ceasefire have resumed in Saudi Arabia, with President Salva Kiir arriving in Egypt this Monday to deepen the peace process talks. Kolo Muhammad again has more.
President Salva Kiir is expected to hold talks with his Egyptian counterpart, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The office of the President of South Sudan, in a statement, says the two leaders will discuss issues related to joint cooperation between the two countries. This visit aims at strengthening relations between Juba and Cairo in various fields, as well as discussing regional and international matters of concern. This visit and meeting are taking place at a crucial time when the leaders have a lot to discuss and forge a harmonious, cohesive, mutual understanding and cordial approach to resolve the issues that are plaguing the region, not least the issue of Sudan and the Gaza situation. South Sudan Foreign Minister said he is hopeful the outcome of the meeting between President al-Sisi and Mr. Kiir will address the matters of peace, security, and political stability in the region and strengthen bilateral relations. Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
Back to Nigeria, if the amount of money budgeted for war is spent on peace, the world will experience unprecedented and all-round development suitable for all. Secretary General United Towns Agency, NTA, said this at the second cabinet meeting of a global humanitarian club in Abuja. Adebola Brooksley reports.
Records from Stockholm in April 2022 show that the total global military expenditure increased by 0.7% to reach $2,113 billion. Addressing members of the Global Humanitarian Club, Secretary General, United Towns Agency NTAi said, "It is not enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it and at the same time work at it." For the Secretary General, the mission to empower volunteer, improve health and well-being of people is in line with what the UN agency stands for, especially support for those in need through the provision of humanitarian services, as well as encourage peace and international understanding.
It's a global action. So from here, from Nigeria, this is an action. We need peace because even the budget dedicated to war, it can be dedicated to create opportunities, to create economic opportunities and to eradicate poverty. So in case of putting these budgets to kill, I think we need life and we need peace.
All we need to keep the world going is peace. We need to tolerate one another, religious-wise, ethnicity, family-wise. We should give one another respect, because by the time you give one another respect, you by default, you are creating an environment of peace.
NTAi also decorated humanitarian champions and commended the Peace Poster initiative of the club. Adebola Brookslyn, NTA News.
The United Nations Development Programme is strengthening the capacity of the military to counter violent extremism. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that this is a major security challenge and the outcome of the intensive engagement will contribute to the fight against violent extremism in West Africa.
Terrorism and violent extremism remain global security challenge, threatening socio-economic development, with state actors seeking trust across strata. Stakeholders agree that bringing about succor must go beyond combat approach.
There is no one organization or one security agent that can address the problems as they are today.
Government of Japan pledged to contribute to the realization of sustainable peace and stability in Africa.
This training assembles military officers from the West African sub-region to deliberate on other strategies of confronting the common enemy. Leadership crisis, climate change and social inequality are among the identified factors driving violent extremism.
It is in furtherance of the government of Japan and UNDP support to MLAPKC to conduct courses in peace support operations, counter-violent extremism, and anti-piracy for relevant stakeholders in ECOWAS as well as the Gulf of Guinea region since 2014.
Part of the efforts of the center is collaboration with reputable organizations locally and internationally in order to explore more areas in cooperation in the overall drive of maintaining peace and stability in the world.
The training is expected to harness cross-sectoral efforts to prevent and counter the spread of radicalization and recruitment in local communities. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has engaged members of the Nigerian Guild of Editors as part of his familiarization drive with stakeholders in the media industry. Saliu Gwanara tells us more.
Nigerian media has prided itself as a strategic partner in the nation's democratic development. Sustaining this gesture as the country's democracy progresses, informed this interactive session between the government image maker, heads of agencies, and top members of the pen profession.
While government is taking all necessary steps to ensure that honest, credible, and timely information is being put out there for the benefit of Nigerians. And you can see from the kind of appointments that Mr. President has made in this direction, the whole idea is to ensure that government avail Nigerians of the information that it requires. After all the policies and projects that are designed by government are for the benefit of Nigerians. On the flip side, government is also requesting you to please report information, report government programs and activities in the most transparent and accountable manner.
The minister highlighted some government policies.
Since he has took office, the president has also signed no fewer than 5 executive orders aimed at improving Nigeria's business and fiscal environment and increasing the foreign exchange supply. You will also have noticed that deft moves by the central bank to clear the billions of dollars in inherited foreign exchange backlog is ongoing. We saw the immediate impact of this on the exchange rate only last week, and we are confident that this is just the beginning. Under the renewable agenda, the central bank is determined to focus on its core mandate of price stability and financial system stability for the benefit of all Nigerians.
He urged media practitioners to explore the peaceful atmosphere being provided for the industry to promote values of national reorientation and unite the nation. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
We'll bring you more reports after this time out. Stay with us.
The pressure and the demand and lamentation, but you understand it much better. You are the one who understands the labor pain. That is only after that pain you see the smile of a child that you are relieved and forget the pain completely. And that's what we are going through economically. You are the one who can educate better the public to understand that we have to go through this. Cartel and thieves have been raping us and fleecing this country before now. You say enough is enough. We are taking our country back. Yes. The job of making Nigeria great is my ambition, is my dream. To renew the hope of Nigerians, to really bring about changes that will promote unity, equity, stability, and prosperity for this country. It's not a one-man's job. It's a job of all of us.
Welcome back to more report. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general election, Mr. Peter Obi says having exhausted all legal means to claim the presidential seat, himself, his running mates, and the party will play the opposition role in the present administration. Addressing a World Press Conference in Abuja, Mr. Obi insisted that the result declared by INEC in the election and the judgment of the Supreme Court were at variance with public opinion. He noted that having previously benefited from a ruling of the Supreme Court on election matters, he has decided to express his disagreement with the decision of INEC, Presidential Election Petitions Court, and the Supreme Court, at least for record purposes.
The movement are now effectively in opposition. We are glad that the nation has heard us loud and clear. We shall now expand the confines of our message of hope to the rest of the country. We will meet the people in their places where they feel pain and answer the needs for hope.
Meanwhile, the federal government has advised the presidential candidate of Labour Party to engage himself in other productive ventures rather than casting aspersion on the judiciary. In a statement, the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanga, frowned at the divisive and polarizing campaign that pitched the people against themselves. The government noted that under the Nigerian law, public opinion is not the law as it is. The federal government wondered how the Labour Party candidates expected the court to do justice on the basis of rumors, lies, and false narratives by sponsored partisans and fanatical members of his obedience movement. Senate has urged authorities to, as a permanent solution to recurring flood, construct dams and other water channels in areas affected. This was sequel to a motion from Senator Iya Abbas relating to the last Wednesday boat accident at Garungalaji in Adamawa State, which left more than 20 persons dead. The lawmakers suggested that dredging of River Benue, River Niger, and others should be included in the 2024 budget. They also asked NEMA to assist victims of flooding across the country. Man's ability to dictate and respond swiftly to potential risk in the environment, experts believe, could be a turning point in an attempt to build resilience and adaptation. It is in this guise that a 2-day training module has been designed to enhance the skills and insight of personnel in the biospace to mitigate emerging threats posed by such biological agents to man and his environment. Charles Alpha reports.
Biorisk are biological materials or infectious agents known as pathogens in the ecosystem or biosphere. They are believed to be potential consequences of accidental laboratory releases capable of causing adverse environmental damages to human health. The responsibility of putting in place measures to ensure safety and security of Nigerians from imported genetically modified organisms capable of causing outbreak of diseases is what this executive leadership training also seeks to x-ray.
Our capacity to respond to biorisk is a defining characteristic of resilience and preparedness.
When I talk about biosecurity, I want you to think about it not just what you're doing in your lab, but also who you can partner with and who you can speak to outside of your institution to strengthen a multi-sectoral approach, because that's really what it takes to strengthen biosecurity.
In a message to the training, Minister of Environment, Balarabe Abbas Lawal believes man's ability to effectively address these challenges relies on collective commitment to education, preparedness, and strong leadership in this field.
Our experience as human beings with COVID-19 pandemic and the controversies surrounding its origin should be enough lesson that humanity must be well prepared to risk-proof our world against biological threats.
For the next 2 days, they are also expected to delve into hands-on exercises to enhance their capabilities to safeguard the environment and protect the well-being of Nigerians. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
The renewed Tinubu's administration has the required capacity that will ensure the improvement of the country's education sector. Minister for Foreign Affairs Yusuf Maitama Toga stated this while inaugurating 4 building blocks for faculties of sciences and management at Abubakar Yafarwa Balewa University, Bauchi, built by TED Fund. Bulak Afsa completes the report.
Tertiary Education Trust Fund has been playing a major role in public tertiary educational institutions in Nigeria for decades, and in a bid to further strengthen the intervention of the fund, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu approved the implementation of upward review of education tax from 2.5% to 3%, with effect from September 2023. Executive Director TED Fund Sonny Echono, represented by Director Research and Development Center of Excellence Dr. Salihu Bakari, said the fund has been utilizing the funds judiciously to improve infrastructure to aid teaching and learning and research in line with the fund's mandate.
The fund has also ensured equity in the allocation of funds to the 3 tiers of its beneficiaries.
Vice Chancellor Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Professor Muhammad Ahmed Abdul Aziz, remarks that TED Fund has enabled the university to realize its dreams, and plans are underway to establish Faculty of Computer Science because the age we live in is computer-driven.
Imagine if there's no TED Fund in this country, what will higher institution look like?
Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tuga stressed President Tinubu's readiness to revamp the education sector
in effectively discharging the mandate of the fund for the continuous development of public tertiary education in Nigeria. As we all know, education plays a critical role in the socio-economic development of nations. Therefore, the commissioning of these projects today at the university would in no small measure further enhance teaching and learning and improvement of academic standards.
The sum of 472,112,546 naira 83 kobo was expended on the project in ATB. In Bauchi, Bulak Afsa, NTA News.
Next is a check on Tuesday's weather prospect for Nigeria and other cities of the world. This is where we end the news. Thanks for watching. I'm Vivian Ezadefe, while my interpreter is Frankly Efe. Bye for now.
"24 hours a day, 7